your sight can completely cover this whole thing up and it vanishes, right? Well, obviously a human at 25 yards isn't going to vanish behind your sights, but at maybe 100 yards, they might. And you can actually be effective with a handgun at 100 yards on a human-sized target, as long as you can see it. So one of the things that you can do is, if you think of your rear sight here, right, instead of having your front sight lined up exactly the way it's supposed to, and then superimposing it onto that threat and making that threat disappear, you can play with your sights and learn kind of how to cheat them a little bit, where you maybe do this, where your front sight post is just like the dot. The bottom of the dot now is lined up with the top of the rear blades. Does that make sense? So that way the gun's canted a little bit. I can see my threat, so I actually know where I'm putting that gun. You know what I mean? And again, every gun's going to be a little bit different. How much of that front sight that's poking up is going to change. Because what I'm essentially doing is I'm aiming down here, and I've just cheated my sights a little bit like this, so I can still see my target. And I can't tell you where that hold's going to be for everybody and every gun, and how much of that front sight needs to poke up in order to be effective to do that. But if you're at a range facility that allows you to do it, we can probably shoot some of this steel out at 50 yards, and you can come up and like this whole thing might disappear, but if you aim low, cheat your front sight up, you'll be able to see it and then maybe have a chance. And that's all we're trying to do at this point. So, you know, we might bust this out tomorrow and do it at like 50, 75 yards so you can kind of see. And usually shooting at that distance is more about your hold, figuring out what your hold is, and that's usually why people miss at this distance, is they just end up shooting really low or shooting really high. You know, most of you guys are good enough shooters at this point that you could hit this out there once you figure out what your hold is. So what we're going to do now is it's just at 3 yards. We're going to do a little bit of that retention